Hello, back on track with Snowfall for the first time in about 18 months. This is a remix project. This was the second song that I released on the channel when my chops weren't really great at all. And I think I did a particularly poor job in mixing this song. I remember getting to the end and making some really rash, kind of theoretical decisions without listening to what I was doing, and I'd ended up in a real rabbit hole of a rabbit hole of a quagmire. There you go. So I was glad to come back and fix it because I think it's a lovely song, and some of Pauline's best vocals on this song. It's just absolutely beautiful, and I'd made a bit of a train wreck of the mixing process. So this is attempt number two. I'll put a link above to the original series so that you can see how the song was 18 months ago. And if you like the song and you enjoy the content that I produce, check out the Patreon link below. That's a great way to help to support my channel. Let's hear the 2021 remix of Snowfall.
Lost in our dreams.
I'm really proud of that. I think that's a hell of an improvement on the previous version, and I've done justice to the song. I always liked the song. I'm actually having a bit of a word with myself with my lyrics as well, because I think these lyrics are better than some of the stuff that I've come out with in the last 6 months. It's an illustration of effort yielding reward, because the number of iterations of lyrics that I went through for this song was just absolutely stupendous. Just kept going, and I think they came out really well. Whereas these days I'm tending to kind of rely more on inspiration and think, well, if I'm throwing something down and it lands on the page straight away, it must be good. Well, with a little bit of care and an avoidance of like falling into pretension, which is always such a big danger, writing pretentious lyrics is a bit of a nightmare. I can do better. So this has been a bit of a wake-up call from that perspective. Let's have a look at the mix itself. And I think the biggest sea change has been in the improvement of my processing of stereo. I think the general mix is just so much cleaner now, because I'm starting to learn where to put stuff in the stereo field. And that starts with the drums. I basically stripped all automation off this project entirely and started completely from scratch, mixed it from scratch. And the drums were just a train wreck. Every track had a compressor on, every track had an EQ on, every track was low cut, every track was high cut, regardless of whether or not it needed it. Just really kind of novice silliness. So when I came back to it, it was like, oh wow, right, okay, we need to do something about that. And so now we've got huge swaths of emptiness in the drums. In fact, the only significant processing really is on the kick, and I'm pleased with the way that that's come out. Let's have a listen to it on its own. I didn't really know how to use gates 18 months ago, so just didn't, and I'm still learning. There's still a massive amount I don't understand, but I'll just take the gate off. Can you hear it breathe? It's just much tighter, much more controlled. I did a sweep to find the frequencies, anything that was interesting, do this kind of business. It's kind of, there's loads going on in here. So I just picked out a little bit of pop. And similarly with this mud. Quite a big difference. And what can you say about the vocals?
I do rely softly you're calling to painting a scene. You and I, my love, rising and falling, timeless it seems. Here with me, fading.
Despite my inept grumblings in the background, the show is stolen by the lead vocal and the background vox as well. I separated out, and this was something that I've done this time round, found the background vocals where Pauline's actually singing rather than just doing oohs and ahs, and brought them up in the mix, because you want to hear them more than the generic sounds. When I went back and revisited the original guitar solo, I was really unhappy with the timing. I'd played it in naturally and hadn't messed with. I might not have even known how to use Audio Warp at this point. I can't exactly remember, or if I did, I was a novice at it, and there was stuff that just needed to be corrected. So the solo now is actually in time, and all the better for it. Not an awful lot done on the sound itself. Let's have a look at the mixer again. For the most part, I try to get my guitar sound good going in, just giving it a little bump. at 5K, which is reasonable. Let's add an extra little bit of sheen on top. That's fair enough. And then we go into, where I just pressed stop there, we're about to head into this, what I've called strong guitar, which has got the Univibe on it, the magnificent Univibe. Completely unique sound, absolutely wonderful. I think Dave Gilmour, Dark Side of the Moon, that was the effect that he used predominantly on that album. The bass I'd split into 2 tracks and just made an absolute bobbins of it. Let's have a listen to the bass on its own. So this is just 1 track. I've actually muted and frozen the second track. I was so offended by it, I took it away. But it was literally, I duplicated it, and it's a perfectly reasonable trick. I've used it on other tracks where track 1 is all the sub stuff, like up to 200 hertz, and the other track is all of the high stuff where you're attempting to pick out articulations. The problem was that the bass was played in so dull, there really weren't any. And so what I was basically doing is putting the shine on shit. What I should have done was bring the decapitator in. This just adds a little bit of grit. It's not much. I mean, if I crank this up, you know, that's what Decapitator kind of wants to do. But at low levels, it's just a beautiful saturation engine. And you hear so many producers talking about this as their saturation engine of choice. It is wonderful because it's so subtle at low levels. And yet, you know, there's even a punish button if you want to go the other way. But that's not its primary purpose in life. What am I doing with this EQ? Yeah, just pulling out some mud and accentuating, really kind of listening to the curve behind, but also, you know, using my eyes, because you get to see where the fundamentals are. So, you know, the bass guitar has fundamentals at kind of, you know, 80 plus. And so I was trying to keep out of the way of the kick and just pull back a little bit of that back. And this is the stuff that I'm accentuating after it's been through Decapitator to add some of those extra harmonics. Let's get it going, a bit more active. All that mud. So I'm pulling all this away, and I'm also just giving it a little bit of brightness. But it was played in, like I say, with my fingers and so thuddy that there really wasn't a lot of high stuff to grab. But what was there and what's been introduced with Decapitators really helped. So the whole story is just a happy story with a happy ending. What an absolute transformation from my previous version that I was just so unhappy with. I was so sad that I'd made such a mess of it, and I couldn't understand why. And it was literally just running for the finish line, wanting to finish the song, probably ears fatigued with trying too hard, listening to too many things. And then I think right at the end, I seem to remember adding a ton of high end, because I decided I was looking at it in some, I think it was tonal balance control, and it was telling me that I was a bit deficient in the high frequencies. So I just boosted a ton of them. Anyway, we learn from our mistakes, don't we? I hope you agree with me that that's an improvement. Please put in the comments below if you think there's stuff that I'm still getting wrong. Just thoroughly enjoying the process. You know, what am I going to learn in another 18 months? Who knows? Hope you enjoyed the video. Please hit like if you did. Thanks very much for watching. See you next time.